All right, if you just joined us, you're still on to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our main conversation for today. A public interest law firm, the Chambers of Evans Ofeli, has strengthened the legal action against the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, Jamb, following what it described as widespread failure and systemic breakdown during the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME). In a petition addressed to the registrar of Jamb, the firm, led by Evans Ofeli, cited numerous cases of technical malfunctions, poor logistics, and alleged safety breaches that it claimed severely compromised the credibility and fairness of the examination process. Ofeli, who signed the petition in his capacity as both a legal practitioner and education advocate, alleged that the condition under which the 2025 UTME was conducted rendered it unjust and detrimental to the mental well-being and academic future of many candidates. One of the major issues raised in the letter was the early scheduling of exams, where candidates, many of whom are minors, were reportedly instructed to arrive at examination centers as early as 6 a.m. This, the firm argued, subjected young students to undue stress and physical exhaustion before their exams even began. Beyond scheduling, the petition alleged that some candidates were reported missing during the course of the examination period. The firm described this as a serious failure on Jamb's part to guarantee the safety and security of young Nigerians placed under its care. Now let's have this conversation. I still have with me Dr. Olayinka Oyebile and Innocent Adulugba. Doctor, I'd love to start with you. You are in the system and the academia, and I think it's very so important that we'll start off with you and equally have your say. What's your take on this particular matter? Because the complaints are all over the place. It's looking more like a protest right now on social media by young lads who are really not comfortable. Most of them before last year, who they took the exams and had about 240. One particular girl said she had about 247 last year. And she repeated exams this year and had 145 and wondered how that was even possible in the first place. So what do you make of this, knowing that you are in the system?
Well, I think we should look at the issue dispassionately and holistically. Some of the reasons why we are blaming Jamb is not of Jamb's doing.
Really?
It's a systemic failure from Nigeria generally. For instance, I saw some people protesting that why should Jamb insist that the exam should be CBT alone? Why not pen and paper as we used to do in the past? And I said, well, we are trying to produce students of the 21st century and in the 21st century. So why should we insist on doing what is done? It's just like the herders who don't want to do ranching and want to carry their cattle from Sokoto to Lagos by road, through the bush.
But doctor, so in the case of Jamb, it's very clear that we do not have enough infrastructure to carry whatever dream that we have. An internet facility is not there, electricity is not there. So why do we explore opportunities that the infrastructure that should carry it is not there?
Well, Jamb has a duty to do what it needs to do. It is not in the orbit of Jamb to provide stable electricity. It is not in the orbit of Jamb to provide computers in secondary schools and so on. Because I even heard people saying that, okay, what about students from rural areas who have never seen a computer in their lifetime and all that and so on and so forth? Therefore, they are blaming Jamb for all that. No, that is not the business of Jamb. Because in all honesty, what Jamb is doing, some of it might be too drastic, but I think it is the way to go. For instance, the issue of saying that they ask students to come to the exam centers by 6 a.m. For people living in Lagos that know the traffic situation in Lagos, and because the centers are scattered, some people are living in an area where there is no CBT center. So they have to leave the house early to go and write the exam. The people that are complaining about they are making the children to leave home very early and all that, for goodness sake, if such a child has to catch a flight by 8 a.m. at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, won't they wake up at 4 a.m. if that is the time that they will wake up and get to the airport on time? So we should not begin to say that we are looking at the issue in such a way that they have to wake up that early. The exam starts by 8. Most of the exams start by 8. Jamb is only advising students to get there by 6. Not necessarily that the exam will start by 6, but they are just giving them a head start. People get to their center by 7. By 7:30, they start accreditation. By 8 o'clock to 8:30, the exam has started. If the system now breaks down, that is another problem. That is another issue. Jamb also, I believe, look for centers where they know that they have the capacity. If there is no electricity, they have generator or whatever to power the computers. And also, we know that this system didn't start today. The CBT didn't start this year. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 3-4 years or sessions that they've been doing CBT.
Yeah, but you have to select. People now, you have to select which you want. It's not compulsory. So people who are not computer literate would often go for the manual, while people who are go for the CBT. So it should be like that, I think so. Don't you think so?
No, I don't. I think that everything should be uniform. What we should talk about is that the government or the school authorities that don't have computers to be encouraged to have computers. The world has moved on. We cannot continue to move as if we are in the dark ages. We should not blame. Yes, I believe Jamb has its faults. There are some areas of lapses that Jamb should have looked into. But on the other hand, parents should also, and the school authorities and government especially, should also invest in this. If you go around Lagos secondary schools, how many of them have computer laboratories? These are things that we should be talking about. Because if you don't have computer laboratory where students can practice or be exposed to the use of computers, when they get to exam centers, no matter how brilliant a child is, if a child is not exposed to the use of computer, to put on a computer or seeing a computer for the first time, rather than do what he's supposed to do, he might be doing something else. So we need to encourage government agencies, government schools, and our government to do the needful. Rather than the president, the governors, the legislators buying million cars that are worth millions of naira and so on, this should be plowed into the education sector.
All right, doctor.
It is demeaning or unbelievable that Nigeria today, we have a school system that doesn't have a running laboratory computer system. And it runs through even the university system. It is not only at primary school or secondary school level, up to university level. They don't have all these. Why? I mean,
all right.
It's important. We also blame the government. Not necessarily every time we think Jamb is doing what is wrong. I know parents are at edge. They are not happy with it. But what do? We have to move with the times.
All right, Doctor. Innocent Adulugba. Lots of people will disagree with Doctor. He said we have to move with the time. And you will agree with me, a very classical example. English, for instance, is a universal language which everyone is encouraged to speak. But in China, they would rather love to teach their children in their local language because politics is local. Okay, they feel that if they do what is most comfortable for its people, they will get it faster. So do you agree with what a doctor had said?
Well, with the Chinese example, it is part of why China has its strength.
Yeah.
Of course, there are people learning Mandarin here and there, but you cannot penetrate all of Chinese intelligence because that language is indigenous to them. Dr. Tunji Alausa, the Minister of Education, has explained on Channels TV interview that even that result is a big concern. And that it's because the exam was being conducted in a computer-based testing system the proper way, and that's why that result came out like that. Now, if we want to take statistics, about nearly 2 million people wrote the...
Yes, about 1.9 actually.
1,955,069 applicants. Yeah. I like figures. Figures are facts. Now, 420,415 candidates scored higher than 200. Yeah. The implication, 1.5 million didn't make it. So, and when you look at that data now, it now tells us that less than 1% of all the candidates scored higher than 300. Just less than 1%. 75% of these candidates scored lower than 200. If you look at, and these are disturbing data breakdown. Yeah. Now, the interpretations will come here and there, but let's base it on this number. The minister also said, if I quote him, that they have implemented strong security measures, and as a result, fraud or cheating has been completely eliminated. He went on. Yes. Here, Dr. Tunji Alausa, unfortunately, we cannot say the same for WAEC and NECO. What does that mean? The route through which children prepare for this, your CBT, does not have CBT. It's out there in the media. And so, it is apples and oranges. Henry, you cannot learn how to drive with automatic, and the day you are presented with a driver's license, you are given a manual vehicle. You know. So, we are discussing the destiny and the future and the investment of Nigeria. We are not basing it summarily on an examination result to credit a minister and praise a working system.
Yes.
This country, you and I, in some good number of years to come, God willing, will not be here. These children passing and failing will be here, CBT or not. Yeah. You know, so I don't know how we rationalize things. Look at the volume of failure. So, just like our beavers, is Nigeria cursed with technological materials? Are we cursed? These beavers that messed elections in 2023 are excelling here and there. This CBT that we are struggling with are excelling out there. You know, somebody in, I served in Oyo, so I will name a place. Somebody in a place as remote as Tedi in a local government called Atisbo or Agoamodu Shekpeteri, do they have CBT to prepare in their school? Let's leave the state capitals.
Exactly.
You go to Ekiti, it's an educational. Is somebody in Ilukpeju Ekiti, Aramoko, are they using CBT?
Do they even have the?
You go to Imo, there is Owerri. Is somebody in Obowo or Ngopala using? Are you getting me? We are in Lagos. Is somebody in Itoki using CBT? not Ikeja. You are in Kwara. Ilorin is lovely. What of someone in Barteng or Jeba or Patigi? So this country, we need to start waking up from the state capitals and feeling that things are fine.
Exactly.
Some states in this country have no second city. Yes. There is Oyo in state. What are the towns? Ibadan. Maybe Ogbomoso. The rest are urban villages. You go to Ogun State. What are the towns?
Oyo is not an urban village.
Sir? Because Oyo is sir, I will tell you, Oyo town have St. Bernardine's Secondary School and Ajayi Crowther University at the junction to Awe. Haven't I been there now, sir? But what are the indices of urbanization that you will compare to? Sorry, sir, I'm heading somewhere. If you go to Kaduna, after Kaduna town, it's Zaria. Yeah. There are other places. Are they at that urban level? That's my point. That's why I say some states don't have second cities. Abia, if you leave Umuahia, the next is Aba. Where are the rest? Where are the rest? Oshu. Maybe even Ikire, close to Ibadan, we can count after Oshogbo. You start thinking what to count. And these are children from these remote places. You trap with CBT and claim credit. The Zik, the Awolowo, Professor Shoyinka, Chinua Achebe, all came from such remote places.
Yes. And
were well prepared in those days. So the fact that you and I find ourselves in Lagos to speak grammar, we have no advantage over geniuses yet to be discovered that are growing in disadvantaged places. I dare say some of them in IDP camps, abandoned and forgotten.
Very true.
Are they so equipped preparatively? If Nigeria is looking at vision this, vision that, SDG this, millennium, is this how children in the global community are prepared for that year's challenge? So the matter is beyond we are heading somewhere. We want to abandon old ways. We should move at our pace, credibly, objectively. Look at the vast resources that our politicians squander. Some of these children go to school in buildings without roof. They are all there on social media. They sit on desks.
That's what we should address.
It's you come from the root. You treat. Are we not treating symptoms, or how do they say it now, the doctor?
Yeah.
So that's my point. Dr. Tunji Alausa at the Jamb level, that's his portfolio. But he should look downward. He has spoken on the national television that unfortunately he cannot say the same for WAEC and NECO. That is where we should be looking at.
Very, very true. Doctor, I think it's very, very important. This is getting very exciting because of, when we look at these realities staring us in the face, it is actually so, so bad. But let's talk about the capacity of Dr. Tunji Alausa. He is a nephrologist, a medical doctor, whom all through his life he has worked in the hospital. He hasn't, of course, had any opportunity as an academia doing what he should be doing right now in the portfolio of the Minister of Education. Remember, this is the same man who said that we should scrap the 6334 without even understanding why it was created in the first place. So do you think that what we have are egocentric leaders who are more intending in self-gratification than allowing things work with respect to our setting, our culture, the spate of our growth and technology?
The minister is just a political appointee. And I believe there are career civil servants, educationists, and so on in the ministry who understand the system. They should be the one advising the minister. Whether the minister now listens to their advice is another thing. Sometimes I'm not too comfortable with people saying that maybe it should be an educationist that should be a minister of education and all that. we've had an educationist in the Ministry of Education who was a disaster. So somehow, I think the Minister of Education, some of the things that he has said might be quite wrong. Maybe he didn't seek proper advice from the career civil servants who have been in the education ministry, who understand the nitty-gritty of the education system and all that. And also, I don't want them to restrict themselves to only civil servants who work in the office. There are practical educationists outside the Ministry of Education. In schools, I don't see any reason why once in a while the minister cannot summon principals of secondary schools, some selected vice chancellors, headmasters of primary schools, and dialogue with them. They are the people on the ground. They are the people that will give him good advice. For instance, as Innocent was saying, if you go to Tede in Oyo State, do they have CBT? Do they have light and all that? So principals from such areas or primary school headmasters and so on should be brought face to face with the minister from time to time. The minister needs to engage with all these people. They are the foot soldiers. The minister is just at the top there. The foot soldiers are the people they should be talked to. Okay, if we want to do this, what do you need for us to do that? Don't forget the computer and your smartphone almost have the same working system, sort of. If you understand your smartphone, you can understand some components of working with your computer. So, and the smartphone is almost everywhere now. Although in some areas you might say they still use the old, what they call Palasa and all those low-end phone. But don't let us underrate these children in primary school and secondary school and university. Some of them, the way, even those who are newly exposed to smartphone, if you see the way they operate it, you will marvel.
But doctor, there's a law
maxim. Where did they get this thing?
Doctor, there's a law maxim that says it's better to allow 10 guilty criminals go scot-free than to hold on to an innocent person who did not commit the crime. So we shouldn't say because young lads of these days can handle smartphones, therefore every one of them can do the same. There are so many, thousands of them.
And then secondly, the exams was not conducted on smartphones. So the savviness on the smartphone does not approximate to the an equal savviness on the computer. You know?
Yes, so I agree with you.
The thing is, sir, doctor, this is a passage that determines the future destinies of these individuals. It is at that serious level I am advocating. People are, if you have children, they will, whatever you will be in future academically, this is just the gateway. And you are okay, we are talking gadgets, so 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. It does not also approximate flights. In fact, for flight, you can catch your flight early and sleep throughout the journey and recover the sleep you lost. Look, the preparation, I don't know where this litigation will lead.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would tell you, it may not be victory for the, what's that language? The person is suing, is it the plaintiff now? It may not be victory for Barrister Ophili, but there will be a legion, a multitude of evidence through people who volunteer to testify. No, and by that time, it will be ugly.
Very, very true.
Even if the litigant loses, you will find out that, I mean, I just gave examples now, and my example is simple. Some states in Nigeria, look at, if you go to Bauchi, the second town is Azare. Where is the next one? If you go to Gombe, their capital is Gombe. Then where else? But people across all the local governments of this Jamb age will write their Jamb.
Very, very true. So we do not have the details of where this suit is going to. I just wished we had Barrister Vanso Fele to give us up to date of what this suit would look like and where it is right now, or if Jamb had answered, or of course had taken up that particular case. But let's look at it from this angle, Doctor. Professor Ishak Oloyede, who is the Jamb chair, equally had done really, really well. We should give him some flowers because he actually turned around Jamb, beyond what we see today, especially for students that have challenges, special needs, the blind. But there is a trend right now of kids with special needs bringing in other people with special needs to come help them sit for exams. In fact, there's a case of a blind person who invited a fellow blind person who already is enrolled in a university to come help him sit for the exams. So can we say that it's possibly because of the same CBT, which of course the special need candidates were equally involved in their own type of way?
No, I think that one is how did the special need candidate or smuggled in another candidate to sit for the exam for him or her? Because in every exam, they do thumbprints, and thumbprints are never the same. No matter even twins, their thumbprint is not the same. Then they have their ID, facial recognition, their passport photograph and all that there. So we should not blame Jamb for this. It is the center where this happened that we should blame. Because before any candidate comes into the exam hall, they are certified to be the right candidate. I mean, it's through thumbprints or facial recognition or whatever that they went into the exam hall. So how did one candidate substitute for the other candidate? It should be the problem of the invigilators at that center. It shouldn't be blamed on Jamb. Jamb is not culpable in this matter. It is the invigilators at the center. If they are Jamb staff, that's where you will say, but even if they are Jamb staff, Jamb didn't send them to allow a candidate to be substituted for another candidate. So I think we should lay the blame where it belongs. Don't let us throw away the baby with the bathwater.
Okay, but doctor, I would also say that another point for me is in Nigeria, yes, we centralize too much. You know, it's a national exam.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so we centralize too much. We think it must hold the same day, the same time in Taraba, the same day, the same time in Anambra. No. Even as far back as when I wrote Jamb, there are typos. My number 1 may be number 10.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I don't know. It mustn't, so that and that when I'm talking of centralization, that's where Jamb may also be constrained with regards to manpower. If you get my point. If everything is happening, even within a state, if everything is happening, and again with that centralization, we trivialize a place like Lagos to be the same as a place like Bayelsa, one state. But when you put the population and logistics and travels, it's not the same. So if we have such a important exam happening, it can be, I don't know, it can be graded, it doesn't need to happen at the same time, is my point. You know, so yes. And that centralization, exam materials will arrive at also time. When Abuja calls Lagos, that is 10 p.m. we start. No. Every town don't need to be. The bottom line is the exam will be well invigilated. Question papers are preserved from leaking, and whether CBT or whatever of people CBT trained can go ahead. Maybe it should be an option in the next 2-3 years while preparatory steps are taken across secondary schools leading to that exam.
All right. Just before we conclude, Doctor, I would love to ask you, the suit by the chambers of Evans Ofeli is asking that Jamb should totally cancel the examination and reorganize another one for the candidates. I do not know how far that would go, but let's just take a look at the repercussion of this particular sad news that we have from Jamb and this failure that we have. How do you think this would affect students enrolled or desiring to enroll into universities? You teach with a university, and I would love to know, how do you think this would affect or deny students the opportunity of having that dream course that they had always wished to have? How will this affect them and equally affect institutions in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think it's a very wide shot in the dark to think that Jamb should cancel the exam and reorganize and do it all over again. I don't think that is possible. The logistics and the money, the resources, the money that will be involved will be too enormous. So that leads to rest. In terms of talking about how it will affect the students, the entrance exam, Jamb is just like a clearinghouse. Jamb will set its own cutoff mark based on what the general performance of the students. Then universities also have that leeway to set their own cutoff marks. Some universities will set 230 for certain courses or 200 and so on and so forth. So a candidate who scored 200 perhaps and takes maybe a university like Unilag may not gain admission if the cutoff mark for Unilag is higher than that, not because Unilag is anything special or something, but because they are in the former capital and the business capital of the country, and many people are in Lagos, so they want their children, because of the insecurity, to school in Lagos. University of Ibadan might set its own a bit lower. The university in Birmingham might set a much more lower mark, not because of anything, but because, well, maybe their catchment area, they know that their people may know for what other people with other universities said and all that and so on and so forth.
But with the mass failure, Doctor, yes, with the mass failure that we have, with only 400,000, with the 400,000 out of 1.9 million scoring above 200, it means that it's possible that a large chunk of Nigerian students, according to the Jamb cutoff marks, not even the universities, might not even get to enroll into any university.
No. Jamb, for now, has not set a cutoff mark.
Okay.
And it cannot set a cutoff mark until it has all the results. Cutoff mark is a function of what is the overall highest mark and the median, or whatever the mathematicians call it. Then that's where they send the benchmark. That, okay, if we had 220 as the highest scoring mark, then they put it on a scale and say, okay, the cutoff mark will be 150 this year. Last year, the cutoff mark was different from the year before. It was always like that. It varies. It depends on the performance of students in that very year. But to solve this problem, as Innocent said earlier on, I think we are too much in this business of centralization. I'm looking forward to a time when we will have maybe 5, 6, 7, or 10 universities allowed to get together to set their own, to have their own entrance exam, another 10 somewhere, another 10 somewhere, so that, one, it will give students opportunity to make a choice. In the 10 universities that band together, if there's 1 or 2, 3 universities my child like there, she can take the form. Another 10 universities somewhere, if she has another choice there, she can take, so that students can have multiple chances. That was what it was in those days before the advent of the creation of Jamb. We are having a blowout of population of kids who are eligible for sitting for Jamb. I believe, I don't have the figure at my fingertips now, the number that sat for Jamb in 2024 and 2023, in 2024, we have more students who sat for Jamb than in 2023, I believe.
Yeah.
The same thing in 2025, more than those who sat for it in 2025. In 2026, the same thing will happen. So, the Jamb capacity to be able to accommodate all these students at once will be faulty. And also, you find out that sometimes some students perform very well in Jamb. Their WAEC results not as wonderful as they did in Jamb. Also, some of these students find their way into the university, and you ask yourself, question. I teach in a university, as you know, and then you ask yourself, how did this guy or how did this person pass Jamb? Because when you give them exam question, the way they answer, I mean, their thought flow is shallow. So there must be a way that where we must begin to make sure that we have the best. At the risk of sounding elitist, university education is not meant for everybody.
Said so.
If you go to the US, it's not every American that has a university education. But we are getting to that point now that every polytechnic is being turned into a university, every teacher's college is being turned to a university, and so on and so forth. You have students who have the degree, but they don't have their skill. Is that what we want? No.
All right.
So, well,
we
doctor,
must encourage technical education and other forms of education. I mean, you have a graduate of engineering who cannot couple together simple electrical gadget. You have graduates of carpentry or something who cannot fix a door. Is that what we want?
Very true,
you have
doctor.
a graduate of English whose syntax is horrible. I mean, so we need to re-examine university education very well.
Very, very true, Doctor. Innocent Adulugba, my last question, just before we leave. I had wished we have more than enough time to do more justice to this topic, but we just have to leave. Our loss is always other people's gains. You need to see how much Ghana, for example, Benin, how much they make out of our students who travel all the way to these places for education. The kind of money, our own money, that's pulled out of the system to such economies. Out there, they don't know Jamb. All they are concerned about, do you have the requisite results for whatever course you intend to do, and maybe one or two very simple things, and you get into school with the hope that the institution will train you to what they expect you to be like. So do you think all of these things that we do in Nigeria, Jamb, all of those things are just overhyped and just a means for the government to make money?
I think you took the question out of my throat. That's where I'm going now. In Nigeria, whether Lome, whether Accra, Abidjan, Yamoussoukro, Douala, Yaoundé, or Birmingham, or Leicester, Oxford, Harvard, Nigerians apply to those schools from their phone. And I can say to that extent that the government of this country is an agent of poverty in the homes of Nigerians. That's doctor, I don't know his age, but I doubt if he wrote Jamb. You just apply to the school. Did you write Jamb, doctor?
Yeah, Jamb is very old now. Jamb is not something that started now.
So, but my point is,
started in the 70s.
Yes, but once upon a time, just as we do, if I want to go to a school in Germany today, I will just apply to that school.
To the school online.
There is no Jamb in Germany. Yeah. So, if education was invented from the West, how did Nigeria reinvent Jamb? Because, and then you do a post-UME, you buy scratch card. So, Nigeria, to that extent, if you look at the exam, should scrap Jamb. Yes. Even those 10 schools you are saying, they are too much. They are too much. If it is only OAU Ife that I like, I gather my WAEC or GCE result and go there. If I meet the admission criteria, get Jamb out of the way. A lot of Nigerians within this Jackpot period going abroad are doing that via the route of education. Yes. There's no Jamb or a centralized. And secondly, it tells us the lapses in our exclusive and concurrent list arrangement. It's not, and that brings me back to my topic of over-centralization. Education is over-centralized. It's the business of, in some countries, Henry, education is the business of the local government. The local government area. The school in their, yes. But here, the name Jamb already is so the federal government is so overloaded and overbloated and confused. Jamb expressly should be scrapped. If Mr. Obinna loves
State University.
No, you are even going far. Loves the new school, Taisholare, because the parent love the charisma of from Owerri. He will bring his child's credentials to Taswed in Ijago here in Ijebu and check if the school so find you admittable with possibly a placement test.
Yes.
You find your way. You cannot finish writing WAEC. You are cleared. Some people have cleared their WAEC long ago. Is this Jamb that they are waiting for? Meanwhile, they are better than many students who have crossed the Jamb.
Yes.
So I would say we should scrap the Jamb. We should scrap, because we are from where you are. You apply to a school out there. From your seat, and once you pay their bill, present your credentials, off you go.
You have your visa.
So I mean, we should have. We are delaying destinies.
Definitely.
And then there are many poor parents who have managed to carry their children through WAEC, hoping for a direct admission. Jamb is another financial obstacle. The government should scrap the Jamb. I mean, doctor, that's my...
I agree with you.
Yes, very, very true. Because I think we can't keep doing one thing over and over and expect a change when we know that the thing on that reference is not the right thing that would give us the hope that we need. Jamb has been very awesome. Of course, it has guaranteed students in the past and ensuring that their level of greatness and ingenuity, moved a notch higher. But at a point like this, I love to believe, just like Innocent had said, it should be scrapped. That's my opinion, though. Let's see how that would work. Thank you so very much, Doctor, for being here. We truly do appreciate you. Innocent Adulugba. Thank you as always.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, people, that's just about the time we have. We'd love to say thank you to you for making this a date. We truly do appreciate once more, but please do well to visit us. You can check up on us or read more when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally rewatch when you visit us at Enterprise TV 7. I am Henry Igwebike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.